At the end of the day, vision is everything. As a director, you can have a million ideas in your head, and it's your goal to actually be able to articulate that, whether it's in a director's treatment, into your ultimate vision, or what you sell to people in terms of clients. Vision is the biggest thing. If you can't sell it back to them and get them excited about this and like give them the confidence that you are the right person for it, you're ultimately going to lose, and you're going to continue losing if you can't find ways to like be much more clear, be much more confident in terms of like your ideas, and like be the strongest idea creator. And like, is your idea actually executable, right? You can sell like the world, but if they don't even have confidence in you being able to create that, then you're probably not going to be the right person for that. Have you ever wondered what it takes to become a director in 2025? After the last 5 years of directing for projects like Shell, Lululemon, the Raptors, here are some skills and lessons that I've actually learned that a lot of people don't talk about. So today we're going to walk you through exactly these 4 must-know director's tips that are going to kind of transform the way you think about directing, how you perform better on set, how you become a better collaborator, and how you actually function to become a stronger, better director. Today we're joined by myself, Jason, and Juanjo.
What's up, guys? I'm also a director, and I could really use some tips right now. So give me the first biggest one that you've learned.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that every director needs to know, especially whether you're aspiring or whether you're a current director, is becoming much more clear on your clarity in terms of like how you speak, who you are, and like what you actually want to do. Clarity is kind of like the final end goal for anything. It's like in the beginning, there's projects that we used to do as videographers where I would just show up on set and no one would have any idea what was happening, and I would just like, hey, we're gonna just do this next shot. And then everyone would just have to shift their whole mentality to be like, okay, let me just do this. Over time, we quickly realized like that's just not how you do productions. Everyone in terms of like front end, back end, the whole crew, the talent, everyone needs to know exactly what's happening, so you can get the best final result ultimately. And like at the end of the day, that's exactly what you need. Like you need to make sure that whether someone is on the creative side of things or on the production side of things, everyone knows what's coming. Everyone knows what the shot list is. Everyone knows what the vision is overall. And at the end of the day, vision is everything. As a director, you can have a million ideas in your head. And it's your goal to actually be able to articulate that, whether it's in a director's treatment, into your ultimate vision, or what you sell to people in terms of clients. Vision is the biggest thing. And if you can't get people behind your vision because either you can't communicate it well enough, or you can't showcase what you're trying to say or do, that's the biggest crux, right? It's like that's going to be the choke point in terms of you becoming the best director versus you becoming a mediocre director that just kind of loafs through their career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds about accurate because I remember doing so many like recap type videos. I would always wonder why I'm only doing recaps, but it's probably because like a simple enough job would come my way and I'd be like, okay, we're just gonna show up, shoot the shots, and then we'll figure it out in the edit. But I suppose if you actually like want to be directing like campaign level stuff, you can't really just wing an entire commercial.
Yeah, the thing with big campaigns is there's a lot of trust that needs to be built. It's a bit of credibility, it's optics, it's like ultimately trust. So you can think about it on an agency side. You have people that are working on a campaign for 6 to 12 months, and all they're thinking about is not even the logistics of how it's going to be executed. It's like, is this the best idea? And then when they come to you for that and you're pitching on these ideas against other people, typically it's like a triple bid. So it means like 30 people are bidding on the same project idea. And they're coming to you to see how you would articulate or how you would approach this project. So it becomes your goal to create a director's treatment, sit down and like, what is the best approach that I would do this with, right? What is my personal style? How would I actually approach this? And then ultimately, if you can't sell it back to them and get them excited about this and like give them the confidence that you are the right person for it, you're ultimately going to lose, and you're going to continue losing if you can't find ways to like be much more clear, be much more confident in terms of like your ideas, and like be the strongest idea creator, right? Like they're coming to you not just to think about every single logistics piece. It's ultimately that plus, do you have the best idea? And like, is your idea actually executable, right? You can sell like the world, but if they don't even have confidence in you being able to create that, then you're probably not going to be the right person for that.
Yeah, that really resonates a lot because this is a problem that I've been struggling with a lot recently. Is I would like meet a new client, or maybe it's like an old retainer, whatever it is, and we'd be doing like the same similar like scale vibe type jobs, And I would always have like an idea for something bigger. Like maybe it's a recap, but like next time I'm gonna be like, this is like an idea for an actual commercial that will help your store or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would like text them to them, or like I would like see them somewhere and I'd just talk to them about it. And they never seemed sold on my idea. So I don't know what I'm necessarily doing wrong in like the pitching process. Like, should I be doing something else, something differently? Like, what do you think the problem is there?
There's usually like a fallout on the director's treatment side of things. Like I think we've had conversations here internally as well as in our cohorts about like the importance of director's treatments. Director's treatments are created for a very specific reason. Before, I used to hate making director's treatments. I didn't understand why, because I have all these ideas in my head. It's like I could just tell you them, and like if you can imagine, just imagine, use your imagination.
Yeah.
But like your imagination is very different from my imagination,
Mhm.
and like how I perceive things is very based and biased on what the things that like I intake into my life. And so I could just sit there and tell you a million things, but then it's weird now that you have to figure out and communicate and understand like where is your brain going? Like that doesn't really make sense. It's almost like, you know, if I could just say, oh, here's the log line. It's like, but how did you get there? Like what's all the, you know, it's like a math equation, right? It's like show your work. It's like a directed treatment is exactly that. Show your work, right? It's like you might have a great idea, but if you can't be like, how am I actually going to get there? What's the approach? What's the style? What's the, like the look and feel? All these little pieces that showcase that you've actually sat there and thought about this in like a very deep, intent way. That's like the difference between someone hiring you and not hiring you. Because even before like my early treatments, it was just so vague, right? I would like have an idea. I would think that's enough. And then I would send it off and it's like 5 pages. And I'm like, hey, get the vibe from this. You know, it's like, do you understand the vibe?
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna spend money with us.
Yeah.
Can you trust me to do this? And they're looking at this like 5-page deck, and you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I've actually lost jobs, and a good story for this too is like, I was called up to pitch on a project, and it was like a pretty small job, whatever. It's like $3,000 or whatever. And so like, I was like, okay, that's easy enough. It's whatever. And I wrote this treatment out, and it barely made sense. And then I sent it off to them, and they're like, I don't get it. It's like there's like, you're telling me this general story, but you're pretty much just regurgitating the brief that we gave you. You know what I mean? It's like there's a difference between how a good director's treatment works. It's like, I'm going to show you step by step exactly how we plan to do this and like how we're going to execute this from top to bottom. Whereas I was just taking like their idea, and then I was like almost just changing the words up, like presenting it back to them with some photos and being like, here it is. This is how
like,
it's going to show up.
This is the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't show them how the edit was going to go. I didn't show them how like the shots were going to like be laid out, the shot selection, or like even the look and feel, and like kind of like the general emotion that I was trying to capture.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is what it is, guys.
Yeah.
And
but
like,
I can't blame you for that, because director treatments like take so long to do,
they take
especially
a long
like
time.
when you have like only like 3 or 4 days. Like sometimes the turnaround is crazy for those things.
It's crazy, and like that's kind of this pressure that you get with director's treatments. And like when I was doing this one, and I lost it, I went back and forth. I did the same treatment like 2-3 times, and every time I just added like 20 more words type of thing, and I added more photos, hoping that it would sell the idea enough. And it just didn't. And eventually, it went to a friend of mine, and he did this treatment, and it's like, yeah, let's go with that. And then I messaged him, and he's like, I literally took your treatment and I just added like structure to it.
Like
and I was like, that was like a clicking moment in my brain where like, oh, I wasn't even close. Like, and it doesn't matter what the price range is, whether it was like 3K, 100K, 500K, whatever it is. Like the quality in terms of how you approach the director's treatment should always be consistent, and it should be consistently good, right? Not just like, I'm just gonna slap this together. It's like you should kind of approach this in a way that like you're excited about it, you know what you're saying. And the thing with director's treatment is it's not just a task, right? It's an opportunity for you to sit there and actually like work through every idea to know whether it works or not.
Interesting. So how do you approach director's treatments now?
Yeah, I think before, with larger budget stuff and you have more time, which is kind of rare regardless for treatments, we would like go and get like a director's treatment designer and then also work with like a writer as well. nowadays we've kind of shifted things, and like we've created templates for ourselves that kind of like streamline the whole process. So we always try to just do the writing ourselves more or less, because that's the thing that's going to be the most connected to how we're going to ultimately present this back to the client. And like these treatments have been just like taken from like the best performing treatments that we've had that have won projects. And then depending on the scale of that, we'll use different treatments and templates for it. And like now we've actually presented that and put it onto Set Memory, which is our secondary brand that we have all of our like pre-production stuff there. But that's been like the best thing for us in terms of speeding our timelines up. For a production company that is a little bit more nimble and has a smaller team and footprint, we try to maximize what we do through efficiency, right? Like having systems for this. So that's why we actually created Set Memory, because we're like, oh yeah, cool. Let's just take exactly what we use every day, simplify it, make it clean and usable, and only put out stuff that's like the stuff that we actually use on our day-to-day pretty much.
Okay, cool. So now that you have the clarity with the client, what is something else that can help you out as a director?
Yeah. Over the years, we've realized that pre-production is everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a make or break for your production. And we always try to allot enough time for pre-production, because so many things can go wrong and so many things can go right at the same time. And making sure that you have buffer built in to actually allow you to have real communication with the client as well as your teams. We've just figured out that, we've done so many projects where pre-production was always the crux, and then you'd have to solve it in post-production. Solving things in post-production is just so much more expensive.
And it sucks.
It sucks because then you can't get extra shots, right? It's like you can't change up entire scenes. You can't change up entire storylines in post-production. Sometimes you can if you have a great editor, but like, even then it's like you're putting extra stress and steps into everything. It's like you'd rather the editor just be like, great, you gave me the entire string out, like it's perfect, like let's just move on from this. Like you'd rather give them more opportunities to make it better versus saving it and then seeing where you can land from there. So back in the past, we used to just go into projects like, but no pre-production. I remember there's one project we were shooting, we worked with like this Olympic pole vaulter, and like we kind of just went into it without an idea. Like we were just more excited that like, we had access to someone like this, and we sold this project to them. And then we got on set, everyone's just like, so what are we shooting? And I'm like, it's right here in my head.
This guy jumping with the stick.
Yeah. And it was like minimal people, and like it was just very tricky, and it looked so bad on me. And like, again, it was one of those like big moments in my life where I'm like, oh, we can never do this again. We got through so much of life in these like smaller projects where we just had enough of a nimble crew, but like the client was a little bit more lax, so we can get away with this stuff. And then we realized like, oh, on a standard commercial where people are paying you and there's like an expectation of timing and like what's the schedule, what's all these. I used to keep all these things deep into my soul, and like I'm not gonna tell anyone.
Yeah.
like
it's a secret.
It's a secret. And then I used to tell the guys too, it's like, hey guys, we have a shoot on Thursday, like it's Monday. And they're like, what?
That's crazy, bro.
I'm like, well, yeah, here's all the information I had. I have everything actually. You just don't know it. And like, I'm not sure where there's kind of like insecurity of like these products that I was selling or like these ideas that I had. And I was scared to like communicate with people. And it made it so difficult to just be like, to move anything forward. Like I was the choke point in every project. And it's always been my goal now to like systematize this and be like, I'm not the person that holds all the cards. Right? Like I need you guys to know, and whoever we're working with to know exactly what's happening at every stage, so then you can have a successful shoot. Right? And it's like a simple broken system will destroy your entire project. Because all it takes is, hey, your pre-production is not considering like post, like maybe like production design, for example. That whole team now has no idea what you're trying to get at, and then you leave it to like the last day, and suddenly none of the stuff that you need actually exists. And like a bad production design can destroy your entire kind of commercial. So it's just small things like this where we didn't even have a producer back then, so it was like we made our lives much more difficult to get these logistics and like things sorted. And over time we realized as like a director at a production company that communication within pre-production is everything. It's like 80% pre-production, like 10% the rest, right? It's like 10% for production, 10% for post. Like that's how important everything is in the pre, because you also sort out who your colorist is, like who your post teams are going to be, like what the shoot days are going to look like. All
Yeah.
these things should just be secondary, right? You show up, you're just checking things off.
Mhm.
And then you get to post and you're just checking things off and it should be all done,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what a good pre-production does for you.
Yeah, it saves you so much stress and it makes you more efficient as a creative. So I remember the first time I worked under your guys' system and I was shooting a commercial with Zach.
Yeah.
It like changed the whole way I looked at everything, because the way that you guys approach pre-production, just doing all the shot lists, doing all of this pre-vising and stuff like that, it makes it so it's less about like you're relying so heavily on being a creative and being like, okay, I'm gonna do this shot now, or I think I might need this shot in the edit. Like just knowing everything as like that checklist, like you were saying, and then just hitting it, it gives you more freedom to be able to, I don't know how to say this properly, but be more creative in like the actual shots you need.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're using your creativity to make things up. It's you're using your creativity to like make things better.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So yeah, definitely having all of these like pre-production things done, like it makes like communication with the whole team like so much easier, and everyone just is on the same page already.
Yeah. When you first start as a videographer, you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just the game, right? It's like you have a camera, but you're also the director, editor, you're account management, you're everything. And so when you get on set, you have to think about stuff not just in a creative sense. You have to think about stuff logistically, like, oh, will this make sense in the edit? Like, will the client be happy? Like, you're thinking about all these other things, and that's like it all clouds your judgment in terms of how you want to be a creative.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to like full creatives where they actually don't really think about what the numbers are, right? Like, once we got into more of the production world, that we started working with more producers, they were like, why are you asking numbers questions? And I'm like, because I also run a business too. Like I can't remove myself from that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of directors out there that like, hey, I'm only going to think about the best creative and not let money dictate how I think, or not let how like, what teams do I have coming up? Like what do I have available to me? Like those are all little things that actually like pull you away from being the best creative. And that's all to say, like, when it comes to all this pre-production work and like having systems, yeah, we had to figure out that system of like, okay, what's even the path between like location scouting, the distance between that from like doing your previs, your edit previs, working through and figuring out who your crew is going to be. Like you need to know prerequisite stuff to get the right answers for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is like this, like it's a bit of an iterative process where you go up and down from the scale. But like we've learned that, hey, there is a very specific process here. And we love it because over time we went from like being known as kind of like unorganized and we were just kind of winging it as we go in, to companies where when we work with them, they're like, oh, you guys are very organized.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a great thing to hear, right? It's like we've gotten past a very specific stage, which is guessing, like classic as a videographer, a lot of times you just guess your way because you don't have, the space is gate kept quite often. So you don't even realize that there is a system that you should be following. And once you follow that system, you're like, oh, I no longer have like these like terrifying moments at night where I'm like, I don't know what I'm actually going to be shooting tomorrow. Like fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole big difference of pre-production.
Yeah, you really gotta level up your pre-production to even just be valued as a higher like production company. Yeah. What else you got for me?
Yeah, I would say communication is such a huge part of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be number 3 that you must know as a director. Practicing your communication skills is a skill on its own. Even back then, it's like my point of like not going into projects with a plan. Like that's just like simple communication thing, right? And it stacks up and it actually has a trickle down effect to everyone's ability to work at their highest capacity.
Mm.
And so if you don't just communicate the most simple things, like what happens is your anxiety just keeps building because you're like, oh, I should have told them that last week.
Yeah.
And now it's like 2 days beforehand. I'm like, you're still scared to tell people stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to be in way more pain if you don't tell people these things versus just holding it back into yourself, right? Like I think a lot of people, and especially people in the cohort as well, that we're kind of like working through some of these limiting beliefs of like, some people think, a common belief is like, no one can edit as good as I can. And like, I know this is not directing related, but you'll see how it kind of connects back over. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when I do an edit, it's just like, I know what I want. And it's this feeling.
I got the sauce.
Yeah. And then like you said it, eventually down the line, you work with like amazing editors.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I was like, not even close. I was like
nothing.
0 point. I'm nothing, right? I'm exactly. I'm nothing. And then it's the same thing with directing and like being able to communicate well. It's like, a good director can communicate as well as understand and have empathy on both sides of things, right? It's like, you know, if you're afraid to act out what you're trying to get out of your talent, that means you shouldn't like tell them to do what you're trying to do. Because if you're not even willing to do it, then like it's gonna be very awkward.
Yeah, why would they want to do that, right?
Yeah, and it's like the way you speak and communicate with them. You know, it's like putting them in the right mind space as well, and like building rapport with them beforehand, and not just shoving people straight into like the scenes, and like making sure that they understand and they're comfortable going into it, and giving them the right notes as well. And like again, these are still things that I'm still building on and learning myself, but it's like the simple ways of approaching this, right? It's like you want to do this stuff through spec work, you want to do this stuff through like simpler jobs, right? How do you communicate and how do people react to that? It's going to be such a game changer in terms of getting the right stuff out of people, and that's really the most difficult part, especially when you're not working with like fully trained actors all the time. Sometimes it's just models or like friends that you have when you're just starting out. It's like you've imagined things in your head, and now it's your goal as a director, not anyone else's. It's not the DP's turn or like the gaffer's turn to like get this out of people. It's really up to you. And so that's it's such an important skill to be able to be like, I know what I need from this person. It's my goal to get it out of them, and which is why people like, you know, I don't know if it was David Fincher who does like 50 takes or whatever, right? And it's like just do it over and over and over again. It's like, how do you minimize that? How do you actually like be a little bit more efficient, especially when you don't have millions of dollars to work with and like limited time? How do you get it out of like 2 or 3 takes instead of like 5 to 10, right? It's like it's this constant ability to like get better at communicating, and like that's just the talent side of things. Now you got to think about communicating on like your team side of things as well. It's like, depending on where you kind of come up from, like me being more of like a videographer, we used to just do everything together. Sometimes I have a bad habit of like bringing on more of like sometimes like a DP mindset as well, when I want like things to look a certain way. And like now I know to just communicate that better with Zach and like get ahead of that when it comes to shooting, and like being open and honest about like what you want and what you need out of a production, and like the way you approach things. I think every time that there's a disconnect between like how you're functioning on set is going to be another choke point in terms of like how you can get better and better. Because there's projects where we do where I'm like, oh, this isn't really my style right now. Like the way I want to approach this, like I'm much more of a, you know, and you learn this over time. Like I much prefer moving a little bit faster and having options to kind of play around and try things differently, versus like, I know I need these exact 5 shots and nothing else is going to change that. And just locking myself into those 5 shots. And it's like every director has their own style, and it's your job as a director, I feel, is to just be able to communicate your style as well. Like there's a director, a great director in Toronto too, like Go Iramoto. Like we've listened to some of his stuff in the past too, where he speaks about, you know, he thought he had to like kind of conform to how the standard production world would work in once he kind of got to that stage. And like he kind of came up from like a smaller crew, like I believe it was like him and his wife and partner, just like running, gunning and shooting stuff. And you know, he found a path where, oh wait, I can take the camera sometimes if I want to shoot stuff, and like, you know, I don't have to always have a DP touching it. And like sometimes when you go watch, you know, these behind the scenes of like larger directors, like they're also holding the camera sometimes when they know they need to get a specific shot, and like they feel like it's easier to just for me to do it than for me to communicate it elsewhere and like try to get that shot and try it like 20 times, whatever. And this was something that we had to learn as well to be able to communicate with ourselves. Justin's a good example of this too, where like, you know, we started to try to push Justin into a little bit more like a commercial space as well. And, you know, ultimately, yes, he can do it, but there's a specific way that he realized he needed to do it, which was a little bit more like solo run and gun type feel, and where like he has a little bit more control in terms of his style, because when he doesn't do that, the ultimate end result is something that doesn't feel like it's him or it's like his style.
No, that's a really great point. And at the end of the day, people aren't mind readers, right? Like you might be like the greatest director with the greatest ideas, but if you're not able to communicate these things, you're just kind of like imagining things in your head. You're not really much of a director.
I imagine we just sat here and we didn't talk.
And we're just like,
this is the greatest podcast ever. And it's like that's kind of like the big things, right? It's like you just need to be able to openly have these conversations ahead of time too, and like obviously again do it in pre-production, but even on set, what you are able to like create communication as a combination of energy as well, where it's like if you put out bad energy, and you hear about a lot of these like directors out there that like start to scream at people and like they're just mad at everyone or whatever it is. It's like, what kind of like feeling does that give off to everyone else? Like if you're getting frustrated, people can tell you're getting frustrated, right? Like energy is everything on set. And if you got to keep this constant momentum going, if you're on a 12-hour set, 16 hours, we don't ever do 16 hours, but those exist out there. And you're like, if the director's not even being able to like lead the charge of everything, then it makes it very difficult for everyone down the line to be like, follow along and be like, oh, okay, cool. If he doesn't even want to do this, I don't want to do this either. Yeah. You know?
Because as a director, you do set the tone.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of like following your example. Okay, cool. Those are really great tips. A lot of great technical tips so far. Do you have anything more so like how I can improve as a director in the sense of like finding my own voice or style? So, something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the last one is intention. Having really strong intentions of who you are, where you want to go, your style. And in the beginning, it's very difficult, right? It's like to even understand what that means. Like, how do I become more intentional with like who I am? It took me a while to figure this out. And I did it through like a lot of like trials and tribulations in that sense. Like in the beginning, you kind of just try everything. That's the expectation of this. You don't have like the freedom to just do whatever you want right off the bat, because like you're just taking on money jobs, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And then you're trying to like, sometimes you're forcing things into like projects that shouldn't need to be forced, or like it doesn't need to be more creative than it needs to be. Like they're just hiring you to do a recap. Like you can max out on how much transitions you do there. And then you realize like, okay, I didn't really want to do more of this anyways. And then as you start to transition into whether it's documentary work or commercial work, you start to find, different pathways. So, I was like, people were telling me, oh, do, car commercials, because there's money in the car commercials. Yeah. Like, okay, I did car commercials and I hated it. Like, cool, I can do them. Yeah. It's like, but to do this at the highest level means like, I got to now get into like understanding Ukraines and stuff like that. And specialty shots and like shutting down streets. I don't like when I was shooting that car commercial, I didn't even drive. So like I had zero.
What do you know about cars?
Yeah, what do I know about cars? Like this is a car. Cool. Yeah. It's like to me, cars get you from A to Z, and like I don't really care about like how fast things go or like there's no like intention there. I don't care.
You can't really tell like a story. You have nothing too direct.
Like if it looks good at a certain angle, I'm like, I know that looks good as a shot, but that doesn't mean anything further than that. Right, I'm like, those are just sick rims or whatever. It's like, I think clearly, I don't even know what they're talking about cars, right? Yeah. So it's like, how do you figure out what it is that you enjoy and like faster? And so even in our cohort for like cinematic portfolio mastery, the first entire module that we talk about for the first 2 weeks is figuring out who you are. And in that sense, it's like finding your creative North Star. What are the things that actually mean something to you, right? Like if you don't even like the work you're doing, like why are you doing it? It's just like you're going down this pathway. People talk about this all the time. It's like you can go the money route or you can go for like the passion route. There's a great in between where like if you understand the boundaries of filmmaking, you can actually push yourself to that best place, right? Because at the end of the day, and like some of like our Alex Hormody says this a lot too. It's like regardless if you do any type of commercial, it's going to be hard. Yeah. Right. Hard is hard no matter what you do. You can be the best videographer and like doing stuff that you hate, and it's still difficult and it's still hard. So you might as well just choose the thing that's correctly in the right path that you want to be doing and like go for it and like put the same amount of energy, because at least now you're going in the right direction. And at least now you're picking something that you actually enjoy. So a good example of this was I did this car commercial. I did like a bunch of other commercials, like a product commercial. I think we did for Salt and Stone as a spec. I spec'd a lot of sports stuff as well. And then like, eventually we got to an Adidas project, which is like a fashion company in Toronto. Yeah. And we've been building up smaller projects and campaigns leading up to it. And then we did this one where I'm like, everything here feels correct. Like I enjoy this. And the things that I'm talking about, like I'm comfortable with clothing. I've been in the fashion industry for so long in other capacities. And it took me so long to realize that, my intention with filmmaking is to tell these types of commercials and stories in this filmmaking world with this kind of approach in this genre and this style. And you quickly realize that even once you post that work, you're like, I could do more of this. Like if no one was paying you for anything, like what would you actually want to do more of? Right. And we've talked about this with yourself too. It's like, okay, you're doing these jobs right now. like Wanda, you're doing like, recaps here and like projects to kind of just like fulfill your time a bit,
Or my financial
your
needs.
financial needs. And then it's like, what does this, outside of all that, what does this look like? Like if you could only do like one, maybe two genres over and over, tell stories within it, whether it's documentary, commercials, or a mix or whatever it is, like what would you want to actually be in?
Yeah, definitely. And for that, for me, that's definitely sports. And ever since I did figure that out, and I started working on more projects where I can tell stories about sports, I definitely noticed that my work leveled up from just like cool shots, cool edits, cool sequences to like something that I felt like me personally as a sports fan could connect more to. And when I would show it to other people, they would notice a significant difference of, yeah, your last work was cool, but this one, it feels a lot more cohesive. It feels like a lot more
It feels connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a thing where like in most director treatments in the beginning, the intro is like, I love this idea.
Yeah.
More or less, like if you read at any treatment that's out there, it's always like, I love this idea. And like that can come out very fake and facetious in the sense of like, okay, you're almost expecting it to say that there. But how can you relate a story so closely to it that it's like, it's exactly what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Like we did a pitch for, I think it was like Bank of America, I believe. And it was like shooting the runners for the Chicago Marathon. And I'm like, I ran the Chicago Marathon last year. Like, and it's about like showing the human spirit and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, my treatment's gonna have photos of me running the Chicago Marathon, right? Like, is that connected? Like everything we do around like, we're on with like a program like it's called Escape, where like we work with charities to kind of like raise money, and we go and run in different countries and stuff like that to get to like, build a little more community basis. And I'm like, that's all these things that like I put into the treatment specifically to showcase like how connected I am to this specific project.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a runner, if I didn't have anything related to this, I would just be making stuff up. And oftentimes you're gonna get projects that are land on your plate that you're like, I don't really care about this.
It's about like Cheerios or something.
Yeah, if it's like Cheerios or Doritos, you're like,
I eat Doritos.
I have eaten
every day.
Doritos. But it's like, it's like, what more personal stories have you had that connect you to Doritos or whatever brand it is? And like, okay, if I could do more sports specific stories around running because I'm so closely related to it, I'm always going to take those projects on.
Yeah.
Right. And like, same thing for fashion is like, if there's a connection, like I used to spend all my time just going around thrifting because I was like on forums checking out what's cool and not cool. And like, I was doing this in like 2012 as my first thing out of school type of thing. And I'm like, okay, wait, I've spent the last 7 years in the fashion and clothing retail space or whatever. Why would I not use that as my unfair advantage to like take that as a step? I already have so much knowledge on this, right? Like I always use that as the first stepping stone for everyone. So like, for example, for you, it was like, you love sports and you're like, okay, but not even just sports. It's like soccer specific or football. If we're, and you have a specific team.
Yeah. Manchester United, baby.
Yeah, we gotta cut that. We're gonna get a lot of hate.
Yeah,
it's like you have a team like Manchester United that's like closely connected to you. So if like a Manchester United like project came up, or if you wanted to do a spec on Manchester United, it would just be so much easier to create. And there's like an actual like passion and interest behind all of it.
Yeah.
And so it's pulling on that kind of world where you're just so closely related and knit with this that you're like, easy. Idea. This is something that I've gone through in my life, and which is why when you look at directors that have a very strong like affinity to like the like a life story, it's like, yeah, of course, because you've gone through that. You don't have to make it up, right? Like this is just another day for you. So like the nuances that you find in that direction is so much better than something that you're like, oh, I've never, I don't even eat Doritos. How am I gonna tell this story of Doritos?
Yeah,
you can get close because then you can look at references and like be a strong creative in that sense and like get a lot of like insights on it. But you're always going to miss out from that person that's like, I eat Doritos every day. I've dealt with every situation with Doritos. Like I think I'm going to lose that Doritos pitch to that person. Right. So yeah, it's all to say like intention when it comes to being a director is everything.
Yeah.
Like you'd rather double and triple down on the things that you love, because your career is going to be so much more fruitful in that specific space. Because if you're only known for being a specialist in, soccer, football, then guess what? Everyone's gonna come to you for that specific work, right? A Doritos guy is not gonna come to you and be like, your soccer work really connects with my, it's like my Doritos campaign that I have, unless there's a combination, right? And so it's still better to be a specialist in that sense.
Yeah.
But, intention leads to becoming a specialist. And especially when you're starting out, you're a videographer, or you're just dabbling with everything, a very unintentional portfolio will do equally as bad for you when people don't know what your style or your vision is.
That's crazy. Can't believe you just dropped that on me.
Unfortunately. Now we just gotta get 3 more soccer commercials out. But yeah, I think those are like the 4 most important things that every director needs to know. It's like the hard truths of what you need to hear, because a lot of people, including myself, sometimes you get lost in the sauce of like, oh, so many things are kind of like pulling you in different directions. And then there's like shiny spoon syndrome. You're like, oh, that's cool. Let me try a car commercial. And then you quickly realize, like, I just wasted 2 months shooting a car commercial that I don't want to do more car commercials for. So, you're only limited to so many projects a year. You want to see how you can maximize things that are like very specific and dialed to actually building your brand and your business. If you guys enjoyed this one, we have a lot more coming out, whether it's from directing side of things or running a production company, how to make money, how to like raise your rates. Like, we're going to talk about it all. But more importantly, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.